Ever wonder where math really comes from? We tend to picture it coming from one place, maybe ancient Greece or something, but the real story, it's way bigger, way more exciting, and honestly, it belongs to every single one of us. So let's dive into that universal story together. So yeah, that's the big question we're tackling. Did math just appear, from one genius or one special civilization? Well, as we're about to find out, the answer to that question is literally all over the map. Okay, first things first. We've got to bust a major myth right now. Math wasn't the brainchild of just one civilization. Nope. The truth is, it was invented everywhere. It's this fundamental piece of the human story, popping up independently all over the planet. So, if it wasn't about some professor scribbling formulas on a board, where did it all start? Well, it all kicked off with a really basic, universal question that every single group of early humans had to ask. How in the world do we make sense of, well, the world around us? Yeah, long before we had algebra or calculus, math was all about one thing: survival. It was a tool, it was practical, totally necessary, and it shows us some of the absolute earliest sparks of human genius. So let's see what that actually looked like. And you can literally see the evolution right here. It goes from basic counting to, well, organizing entire societies. I mean, our earliest proof comes from ancient Africa. We're talking about people carving notches into bones, just to keep track of days or maybe how many animals were in the herd. That super simple act, it paved the way for what happened next. In Mesopotamia, the very first written number systems. You couldn't run a city, manage trade, or keep track of debts without it. Then you've got ancient Egypt, where math became, well, monumental. Literally. Think about this. Every single year, the Nile River would flood and just wash away all the property lines. Total chaos, right? So the Egyptians needed geometry to redraw those boundaries perfectly and restore order. And the pyramids? Come on, there was absolutely zero room for error there. Their math had to be perfect. And that really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? For them, one tiny miscalculation wasn't just a bad grade on a test. It could mean a failed harvest or a pyramid collapsing. Math wasn't some abstract thing they did for fun. It was the foundation of their entire world. Precision wasn't just a good idea. It was everything. But here's the crazy part. This wasn't just happening in one corner of the world. At the exact same time, you've got these incredible mathematical breakthroughs popping up all over the planet. And a lot of these cultures had never even met. It was happening everywhere all at once. Okay, let's take a quick trip to ancient China. The mathematicians there, they were on another level. I mean, they were solving super complex equations and using ideas like negative numbers, centuries before that was a thing in Europe. They even had this cool system with different colored rods for positive and negative values. All right, now let's hop over to ancient Persia. Here, math was just baked into everything. Science, engineering, you name it. If you wanted to create a super accurate calendar based on the stars, or build these massive irrigation systems that kept your civilization alive, you needed some seriously good math. And then, all the way across the ocean, you have the Maya in Mesoamerica. They developed this just brilliant number system. And get this, all on their own. They invented the concept of zero. Just stop and think about that for a second. That is a huge mental leap. And it's what let them make these jaw-droppingly accurate calendars and astronomical predictions. So, up to this point, math has been all about solving practical problems, right? It's a tool. But then, something changes. A really fundamental shift happens. The whole question starts to move from just how something works to something way, way deeper. And this transition is everything. For ages, people knew how to use math to get the right answer for building a pyramid or dividing land. But then the ancient Greeks came along and started asking a brand new question. Why does it work? Like, why is this formula always true? That curiosity, that simple question, started turning math from just a toolbox into a whole system of logic. And that's what led them to invent the proof. See, a proof isn't just about finding the answer. It's about building this flawless, logical argument that shows why a mathematical statement has to be true. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that one idea, it completely transformed math from a bunch of useful tricks into this beautiful, rigorous system. So you've got all this amazing knowledge popping up all over the globe. But how did it all start connecting? Well, a super important chapter in that story is the Islamic Golden Age.
You had scholars in these amazing centers of learning who were actively hunting down, translating, and saving all this knowledge from Greece, India, Persia, everywhere. But they didn't just stick it in a library. They built on it, expanded it in these unbelievable ways. I mean, the words we use today, algebra, algorithm, they come directly from this period. It was this incredible melting pot of ideas, where all these different ways of thinking about math came together, and boom, something brand new and even more powerful emerged.
Okay, so let's bring it home. How does all this ancient history connect to us right now? Well, all those separate streams of thought, all that collaboration, they eventually flowed together to become what is now the universal language of our modern world. No, really, think about it. That smartphone in your pocket, the GPS that got you here, every single piece of modern tech runs on equations. And every last one of those equations stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of human effort from every single corner of this planet. So, to wrap it all up, what's the big takeaway? The story of math isn't about one place. It's about every place. It started out as a survival tool, it grew into this beautiful system of logic, and it became the language of our world because of centuries of people sharing ideas across the globe. Its story is, quite literally, our story. So, let's circle all the way back to that first question we asked. After everything we've seen, what's the real answer? It didn't come from one civilization, not from one genius. Mathematics is our shared human invention. It's proof of our collective curiosity, our shared ingenuity. It really does belong to all of us. And you know what? This universal story is far from over. It's still being written, right now, by people all across the world. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. Since this amazing tool is our shared inheritance, what are we going to create with it next?